I can go on to the next slide. I just wanted to be the first to welcome you back to the 22-23 school year. No sirve esto. That's okay. Ok, no sé si miraron esta foto. Tuvimos una junta de todo el equipo de OCEA. Estos son su equipo que está educando a sus hijos. Tenemos poquito más que 100 empleados en este momento. Otro año como 96. Estamos creciendo poco a poco. This is your crew here at OCEA. We did an all-staff meeting right before school started with a variety of different things. We did crew. We talked about expectations, behavior systems, safety, all kinds of stuff, right? And we took an opportunity to just take a family photo, a crew photo together. This is the team that's educating your children here at OCEA. So we just wanted to be the first to welcome you to the 22-23 school year. It feels good already so far for me. I don't know about you. I've had a couple conversations with some parents and I'm hearing some similar feedback, of course. We're always lifelong learners everywhere, whether it's a parent, a staffer, or a student, right? And so we can always do better. So estaba platicando que estamos muy emocionados de tenerlos aquí este año escolar. Se siente un poquito diferente que el otro año, más tranquilo, más comunidad, más asociaciones o colaboraciones con nuestra comunidad, nuestros papás, nuestros estudiantes, nuestras personas del personal. Pero estaba comentando que siempre tenemos oportunidades de seguir creciendo como una comunidad. So, nos encanta escuchar de ustedes, de sus desafíos, sus quejas, sus preocupaciones. Y por eso tenemos estas juntas para platicar, ¿verdad? So, con esto vamos a seguir adelante. Let's see what I do next. Okay, so con eso vamos a invitar al escenario la maestra Vargas. We're going to invite to the virtual stage maestra Vargas. Sí. Para que se la vean en el video. Y tenemos personas en casa.
Sí, para que la veamos en el video. Gracias, maestra.
¿Tenemos opción de ponernos en círculo de crew? Sí, ok. Entonces sí, los invito a que formen un círculo grande.
Sí, a lo mejor entre las mesas por aquí. Obviamente no podemos, lo hacemos por aquí.
Ok, ahí siguen.
Se lo estaba manteniendo la mesa. Yo creo que esta mesa no la vamos a usar. Esta mesa no la vamos a usar.
Ok, el círculo de crew es algo que hacemos con todos los niños durante su tiempo de crew. Y la importancia de formar un círculo es que todas las personas que son parte del crew puedan ver las caras de los compañeros, conocerse un poco más. Entonces, si no están en el círculo, por favor, hagan el círculo un poquito más grande para que todos sean parte del círculo. Okay, and so the importance of circling up is for students to see each other's faces, right? To get to know each other's names. And it's a welcoming environment, right? We want the kids to feel safe, welcomed, and this is why we always circle up. Entonces, para empezar, quiero que piensen en cuando se van a presentar, van a decir hola crew. Es súper importante que empecemos con hola crew y van a decir su nombre. Me llamo maestra Vargas o Jocelyn y me gusta jugar con mi perrito. Entonces vas a pensar en algo que te gusta hacer que empieza con la primera letra de su nombre. ¿Sí? Entonces tomen un minuto para pensar. So for right now, it's super important to always start with hello crew. Then you're going to say your name. My name is Jocelyn, and I love jumping around with my dog. So think of something that you like to do that begins with your first initial.
For the folks on Zoom, do you want them to chat?
Sure, yeah, let's do the chat, yeah. Y tienen la opción de presentarse en español o inglés. So you can, if you prefer to communicate in English, you are welcome to do that. So just show me your thumb when you're ready. Enséñeme su pulgar si ya están. Oh, y el reto que tengo es que al final de cruz, si tenemos tiempo, una persona va a tratar de recordar los nombres de cada miembro de nuestro crew y decir qué es lo que les gusta hacer. Yeah. No sé si tengamos tiempo para eso, pero vamos a intentar. ¿Sí? ¿Qué tal si empezamos con Mike? ¿Sí?
Hola crew, me llamo señor Limón, me gusta música. Mike.
Oh. Pues, y luego le decimos buenos días, Mike.
Buenos días, crew. Me llamo Flo y lo voy a decir en inglés. Me gusta la comida china. I like fine.
Buenos días, tú, Pedro Llorente y me gusta París.
Hola, buenos días, crew. Soy Jocelyn y me gusta jugar con mi cabeza.
Hola crew, yo soy Mónica y me gusta ser maestra.
Creo que tenemos tiempo para el reto. ¿Puede disfrutar? Ok. Pero no lo que le gusta. No, ok, está bien. Podemos ajustar.
Mónica, Juana, Casa, Abigail, Claudia, Elena, Patti, Liliana, Verónica, Paco, Isabel, Oscar, Nancy.
Qué buenas fallas, no son una pista. Ah, ok.
Iván, Brenda. Ya subí la.
Podemos colaborar.
Gaby, Laura, Flor. Oh my gosh, ahorita se me está pasando. Virginia, Gemma, Sandra, Pedro, Juana y Martina.
Por favor. Okay, just really quickly, I wanted to go through the org chart. It's in your family handbook. It's on our website. Just for any questions on anything across the school, just a quick reminder about who does what. I know it's a little hard to see. I was trying to play with the pixelation. Anyhow, so we got our board of directors and then me as your fearless executive director. So my role is really like a superintendent of a traditional school district, right? Managing all the functions of the school. The budget, the compliance, the litigation, the marketing, the branding, the support for nutrition services, the recruitment from the students, the whole check-ins, right? And so sometimes it's a little crazy, so we don't respond to emails. Please call me, text me, send me the email. I don't need to ignore you. It's just sometimes crazy. But we are committed to supporting wherever we can. And then, of course, we got our new fearless school director, Pedro Llorente. That's just joined our team from Illinois. Pedro school director, but he serves as a principal, right? So anything that has to do with principalship, behavior, academics, working with teachers, working with you on the accountability kind of the school, with respect to how we're going to spend our dollars, our public dollars, on the academics, right? Facilities and things like that. So we'll be partnering really closely.
And definitely I'm the mediator for any kind of conversation that happens with teachers, with parents, and all those kind of things. That's my role. So I think the traditional role of a principal is easier to understand. So that was how I was saying, I'm just the principal of the school.
That's a big role. As we all know, right? And we've got our fantastic academic coordinators. I know Professora Monica Benji, you met Professora Vargas, and then Professora Gomez, they just joined the team. We'll talk a little bit about them in just a second. Carlos Santana, you just met in the back, is our new operations manager. So he manages the playground staff, manages our office, enrollments, sibling priorities for those that are siblings that are going to be starting next year potentially. Don't forget there's deadlines, and every year we have cases where people forget that count, right? Let's see. Miriam Ramirez, she's already, I'm sure, met for many years as co-manager and your activities manager. Which again?
No, I don't.
Es que está apagado esto. Alguien lo apagó, yo pienso, un momento. Se prende la cosa, ¿verdad? No estaba prendido. Hay que darle un segundo. 3, 1, 2, 1, 2. ¿Escucha? ¿Escucha?
Sí, sí, estoy preguntando.
Que te enseñen a lo mejor el lugar.
No, todavía no.
Todavía no se escucha.
No.
Lo que pasa es que eso a lo mejor
No. ¿Se escucha ahora?
Test, 1, 2, 3.
Sí. En ese.
Okay, all right. Perdón, me hablan y luego les doy el discurso al rato. Lo vamos a hacer en español ahorita. Okay, so ya platicamos de Carlos y Miriam. Rocío Cervantes is nuestra nueva, I was doing it in English. Rocío Cervantes is our new controller, so she's working with me hand on hand on the budget, the finance, the audits, all that stuff. Rosalina Vargas, you've all met. She was my translator for many, many years, right? So I think I can kind of do this now. She does HR. So she's been busy for the last 2 years with recruiting and just finding good talent. And you've heard probably the news nationally, the shortage of teachers and qualified teachers. And we at OCEAA are looking for bilingual teachers. So it's just even more challenging. And I applaud the team. You know, Monica Benji was a big team member this year and very instrumental in supporting us in finding good talent this summer. Enrique Luna, we all know Enrique Luna, facilities manager, manages all facilities across the organization. He's been with us for like 14 years. Crazy. And Miss Nelly, where's Miss Nelly? Nutritional services manager, constantly trying to make our kitchen better. And we'll talk a little bit about nutritional services and then our teams. So just a quick reminder on the org structure, roles and responsibilities. who's doing what, things like that. So en español. So este es nuestro organismo de la escuela. Les quería presentar esto para si tienen unas dudas o preocupaciones o quejas. Ahí tienen la visual de la persona que tienes que ir para empezar la queja o la preocupación. Y si no recibes respuestas o información, obviamente sigues al siguiente nivel, ¿verdad? Entonces, tenemos nuestra mesa directiva. Yo como su director ejecutivo, mis responsabilidades son como un superintendente de una escuela, un distrito escolar tradicional. El presupuesto, marketing, la sociedad red, buscando por nuevos estudiantes, platicando de la escuela en la comunidad, apoyando los equipos de la escuela con servicios nutricionales, instalaciones, buscando para proyectos grandes y tenemos que ir a compañías, varias compañías, como por ejemplo, conocimos el trabajo del techo, tenemos que ir a varias compañías porque usamos dineros públicos, o tenemos que tener un proceso que les demos oportunidades a los que quieren hacer contratos con nosotros. Algo poquito de todo. Luego tenemos, como comentamos, al nuevo director escolar o el principal, a Pedro Llorente, que se unió al equipo hoy. No sé si quieres platicar poquito de lo que dijiste en inglés, en español, por favor.
¿Está puesto ya?
Ya.
Ok. Yo creo que mi voz sí llega. Si lo hablo así, sí va a llegar, pero básicamente lo que dije es que aunque aquí el rol lo llaman director, tradicionalmente ha sido lo que se llama principal en todos los sitios y ese es el rol que tengo, ¿no? ¿Qué hace el principal? Que son tareas de organización de la escuela, de asegurar que los sistemas funcionan, protocolos, pero sobre todo mucha mediación en la relación con los maestros, en la relación con los papás, en asegurar que los estudiantes reciban servicios, todo esto que es necesario para que las escuelas trabajen correctamente.
Gracias. Luego, Carlos Santana, que ya conocieron, es el gerente de operaciones. Él es el gerente del equipo de patio recreo, de las recepcionistas. Él está encargado de registración para los estudiantes que quieren venir a OCEAA. Me apoya con varias cosas en la comunidad también, que si tienen una mesa en una comunidad, él va a trabajar conmigo para tener un puesto ahí para promover la escuela. Miriam Ramírez ya llegó, es nuestra gerente de KEDS y actividades de estudiantes. Rocío Cervantes es la nueva gerente de contabilidad. Ella me apoya con el presupuesto, el laboratorio de la escuela, cosas así. Rosalinda Vargas, nuestra gerente de recursos humanos, está muy ocupada estos últimos 2 años buscando talento que necesitamos aquí para ser exitosos. Platiqué un poquito en inglés que nacional no hay bastantes candidatos para maestrías, y especialmente de doble inmersión. Eso está muy difícil estos últimos 2 años, pero doy muchas gracias a la profesora Bennett G. Nos ayudó mucho en nuestra escuela a buscar talento para seguir nuestra misión aquí en la escuela. Enrique Luna ya lo conoce, nuestro gerente de las instalaciones, y la señorita Nelly está por ahí, la gerente de servicios nutricionales. Entonces, nuestro equipo, si tienen desafíos, quejas, ideas, empiezan con el gerente, y si no pueden buscar nuestra evaluación, obviamente siguen el siguiente paso, el que sigue. Ahora vamos, ya miraron estos a la noche de currículo y carácter, pero otra vez un visual, un recordatorio del equipo pues en español está aquí. Let me start in English. So you thought it's a back to school night or character and curriculum night, right? So just wanted to remind you all about the academic leadership that's in place now. Obviously we had some changes and leadership and organizational changes. This team has been fantastic over the summer. They rolled up their sleeves, started to strategize on how they can support the teachers, our academic goals, aligning with the LCAP that we have in place right now. And I was just blown away with the amount of work that they put in the summer. So if we can just take a moment to just thank them. Si podemos tomar un momento de darle las gracias al equipo de liderazgo de académico, porque trabajó muy duro este verano para planificar las estrategias para poder apoyar a las maestras con las metas que tenemos que están alineadas a nuestro LCAP. So, muchas gracias al equipo.
Actually, if I could jump in, most of the work was done when I arrived. It was pretty amazing to see the amount of work that it had been done. So it made everything so much easier. And the way it's organized makes sense. So Monica's going to be dealing with things that are more academic. Jocelyn is going to be dealing with things that are more socio-emotional. Doraima is going to be dealing with things that are more related to data and accountability. And that makes it really clear when we are organizing things, and then we collaborate and work together to make sure that every kind of component comes together, because obviously we know that nothing works in isolation, but it really is a phenomenal team. It really is.
Yeah, and then, for those that have been with OCEAA for a long time and have gone to the EL education stakeholder engagement sessions many moons ago, you probably remember like the focuses of expeditions and high quality work and character, right? The high quality work, mastery, knowledge, and skills, and character, the 3 rings of student achievement. And so, the team is like really focused on making sure that we take our partnership with EL education to the next level. So these three particular roles are really aligned nicely with the 3 rings of student achievement that you've heard about for many years. And it's in our current charter petition that expires in 2027. And so I'm really excited about the work that they're going to be doing this year, and they're going to blow us out of the water compared to what we've done the last couple of years. So I'm super excited about that. And then obviously you've met Ivan Luna, our new counselor. He just kind of threw it. He heard us say any organization, right? Sometimes you get thrown into the water, sink or swim. And I've been really impressed with the team so far. En español. ¿Verdad? A ver, ¿sí me ayudas, Moni? En español, por favor.
Si Mónica viene.
Hablo mucho, no me acuerdo qué digo. Por eso me imagino que la Varga está.
Buenos días a todos. Este es el equipo de liderazgo estudiantil, liderazgo académico. Nuestro director escolar, Pedro Llorente. Las nuevas coordinadoras somos yo, coordinadora de instrucción y currículo de doble inmersión. Antiguamente era la coordinadora de tecnología instructiva y de aprendices de inglés. Todavía voy a apoyar a los aprendices de inglés, pero sí ha cambiado mi puesto bastante. La maestra Vargas se encarga de crew y cultura escolar. Ella es la que nos guió en crew esta mañana. La maestra Doraima Gómez, coordinadora de evaluación e intervención. Ambas han sido maestras en OCEAA por lo menos, creo que maestra Vargas 7 años y Doraima Gómez desde el comienzo de OCEAA hace 17 años. Y el nuevo consejero Iván Luna. Este equipo trabajó súper duro durante el verano para preparar lo que tenemos este año escolar y esperamos regresar no solamente a lo que teníamos antes de la pandemia, sino mejorar eso.
Okay, so
This is my part.
have a good time.
That's fine. Sorry. Do you think, can you check if my voice, because my voice usually carries really strong, maybe I don't need the microphone. Do you think it will carry enough? Otherwise I'll use it. It carries enough, doesn't it? So I'll have it like this? Okay, I can do both. Okay, there you go. We'll do that. Okay, so the purpose of this part is kind of going through some of the elements that were already in the handbook. This is nothing new. There is a couple of things that are new, and it's just to establish that kind of a relationship with parents with some kind of guidelines. I think that when I read through them, there may be some of them a little bit, they're very specific about the expectations. I kind of want to go through them and make sure that we understand those expectations on the understanding that the final and ultimate goal for us is to always have those, open up those bridges and have those relationships with parents. But this is part of the handbook, and we thought it was important to kind of review it as we start the year. Okay, so I'll start with in English. The very beginning is all in English, and then I'll move into Spanish, so we can do both. So basically, there is some elements about interaction with respect, and that everyone should act professionally, use language that is appropriate for a school setting. I don't think this is an issue in general, but we are kind of going through it to make sure that we understand those expectations. One thing that we've been working on it, and it hasn't been an issue, is identifying everyone that is in the building. We want to make sure that we know who's in the building. So you just come to the front office most of the times. You identify yourself, identify the person you're going to be visiting. Most of the times we do is that we contact the teacher says, yes, I'm waiting for that person. And then everything works from that point. But it's almost like to make sure that the adults that are in the building, we know who they are. Yeah. So that's part of the reason for that. That's kind of what it means here. So if you know that you're going to be coming to see a teacher, make sure that the teacher knows that you have that appointment with them. So when they come, when you come, we can check with the teacher. Okay. Ooh. Okay, did I go? Okay, so there is this element, and again, this was in the handbook before I arrived. This has been here for a while. Yeah, the idea that we try to limit interactions with people that are different than the people that I'm going to be seeing. So if I'm going to be seeing a specific teacher, then I'm going to that classroom and I interact with that person. If you come to see me, please come over, interact with me. But let's avoid interactions with other people to make sure that we don't impact the learning environment for other people in the building. We're trying to avoid any kind of, it says, otherwise negatively engage any students on or of campus. I think here the intention is that if you need to have a conversation with any student that is not your kid, what I would say is look for another adult that will mediate, that is part of the administration team here at OCEAA. That's kind of the intention, yeah? So instead of like figuring out the issue directly with the student, we like to be part of that conversation to make sure that we can provide the support that will be needed for that conversation. So I'm just asking you, you have an issue with the student, let us know and we'll help you with that, okay? And the idea that we are not entering classrooms if there is not a teacher there, that's the general one. Pretty self-explanatory. This is a new one that came into the handbook this year, and it's trying to avoid any kind of slanderous information that goes for another student in general in systems. And we are talking because this is something that we see as well with students, that they start like talking behind the back of other students and getting that information, especially when we're talking about social media. So in all ways that we can avoid this would help us. So we can make sure that we have those communications kind of controlled and go through the proper channels instead of like being outside of the scope of what we know is happening. And if you need to communicate with anyone, basically just is fine. We can find a way for you to do so, but look at the system that we would do. So any kind of materials, anything that you need to circulate in terms of information, check with Mike, in this case, with the executive director. And then we can define, yeah, this is perfectly appropriate. We can move forward, and then we can move forward with that information. Everyone could get it. Because we want to make sure that the information that is shared is information that is going to be fine for everyone at OCEAA. And this, I don't think this is ever going to happen. I don't see myself doing this, but this is another part of the handbook that was already there, and is that if there is a request for a teacher, from a teacher administrator for someone to leave the building, we are going to ask you to do it at that time. If you feel that that was wrong, then please let me know. So this teacher told me to leave. I don't think this was correct. Then you reach out to me and we'll figure out what happened. But as a rule of thumb, to start and avoid the confrontation, let's make sure that we follow that protocol, and then we can fix it if something was wrong. Yeah? Okay. Bueno, pues es lo mismo, pero en español. Ahora paso a contarlo en español un poquito. Estas políticas, como estábamos hablando, ya estaban en el manual desde hace tiempo. Se añadieron un par de elementos, pero casi todo ya estaba. La idea de que se sigan las políticas del manual y que nos tratemos todos con cuidado y respeto. Sabemos que es también parte de CRU, ¿no? De cómo nos tratamos entre estudiantes, entre adultos y con los papás también. Que el lenguaje que utilicemos sea apropiado. Y luego lo que comentábamos de que hay que identificar un poco para qué uno viene a la escuela, asegurarse de que hay un consentimiento y que cuando uno llega a visitar a un maestro, el maestro lo sabe, hay una cita, y así nos aseguramos que todos los adultos que estén en el edificio sabemos quiénes son, que no haya nadie que no sepamos quién es, ¿ok? No cambió, a veces cambia y a veces no. Ahora. Entonces, si se van a reunir con un maestro, con un administrador, les pedimos que tengan cita primero. Si es una emergencia, obviamente, algo que es una emergencia absoluta, podemos intentar resolverlo, pero intenten tener una cita primero. En mi caso, les puedo decir que si intentan verme en la oficina de repente, probablemente no esté, porque siempre estamos en diferentes sitios, ¿okay? Entonces, pero si tienen una cita con el maestro, hacen la cita, vienen aquí, le van a contactar al maestro para asegurarse que llegaron y que les están esperando, y entonces pueden entrar sin ningún problema, ¿okay? También la idea de que si van a un sitio dentro de del edificio, que se dirijan a ese sitio. Si tienen en un momento que hablar conmigo, por ejemplo, y no hay problema. No estoy diciendo que no hablen conmigo. Estoy diciendo que no, que vayan más a lo que tienen que trabajar para evitar interferencias con otros salones o con otras personas dentro del edificio. Y que en caso de que tengan que resolver una situación con algún estudiante o con alguna persona dentro del edificio, lo hagan a través de de los canales que tenemos ya, que hablen conmigo, que hablen con el señor Limón, que hablen con los maestros, que hablen con una persona para poder resolverlo y que les podamos ayudar en ese proceso. ¿Okay? Y luego la última parte que entró nueva y es evitar distribuir o difundir información que sea maliciosa o calumniosa sobre otros en general dentro del sistema. Es algo que tenemos que trabajar también con los estudiantes, porque ahora ya no es como era antes. Hay redes sociales donde uno inmediatamente empieza a poner cosas y hay que pues tener cuidado de evitar eso incluso en las relaciones de los estudiantes entre sí. Entonces sería simplemente intentar evitar este tipo de comunicación, porque al fin y al cabo sale de nuestro edificio y es más difícil de controlar. Con lo cual, si hay comunicaciones que implican hablar de otra persona dentro, les pedimos que se comuniquen con el señor Limón primero, así podemos garantizar que esa información está bien y entonces ya se puede difundir. Antes de que eso suceda, de nuevo, pasar por los canales. No es necesariamente decir no se puede hacer, pero siempre tiene que haber un canal para hacer este tipo de difusión de información, comunicación, sobre todo si esta comunicación es sobre personas que no son de nuestra familia, por ejemplo, ¿no? Y esto que es lo que estaba comentando antes, que probablemente no va a suceder nunca, y es la idea de que si un maestro o un administrador les piden que abandonen el edificio, en principio el manual sí dice que tienen que abandonar el edificio. Si les digo que si esto ocurriera, yo no me veo haciendo esto, pero si esto ocurriera en algún momento y les supone un problema, comuníquense, si fue un maestro que les dijo, y me dicen a mí para asegurarnos de que revisamos el caso y vemos qué ocurrió ahí, ¿sí? En general les diría que para cualquier cosa, si tienen alguna cosa que les supone un problema, tienen que comunicarse con, lo habló muy bien el señor Limón, con la persona inmediata. Si es un problema, por ejemplo, con la comida, va a ser la señora Alonso. Si es un problema, tienen allí las personas que, si es CATS, va a ser la señora Ramírez. Pero si es una cosa más específica de maestros, voy a ser yo. Van a tener que venir y hablar conmigo porque yo soy la persona que directamente trabaja con los maestros, ¿sí? Ok, creo que este es el final de esta parte. Sí, es el final de esta parte. Luego, si quieren, cualquier pregunta que tengan, porque creo que puedan tener preguntas, se las respondemos. Okay? We can answer any questions you have. Oh, there you go. Yeah.
So we just wanted to take a moment to just talk about two bigger challenges that we've had already in the first few weeks. So I'm sure for those that have meal service on campus, the amount of time that the students have to eat is the same as it's been for many years, but now we've had to reintroduce the salad bar, which we all love, right? But it takes extra time. And then also this year, we were not having students punch in their ID numbers. Everything was just like quantity of students that ate X amount of meals. That was what we were required to report to the state of California. Now we're having to go back to what they call the National School Lunch Program, which is free here in California. We're one of 5 states that offer free meals, so go California. But that's also taking now more time to build new routines, right? Get in the line for a salad bar, focus on the task at hand, get your salad, go to the computer station, punch in your ID if you know it, right? And Professor Benji did a template too to get into the classroom so that it can help the students memorize their IDs. And so if you can partner up with us, if you are still having challenges with the length of time or lack of time that there is to eat, that's why. But I think it's starting to get slowly better. I haven't heard as much feedback on this yet, but I just wanted to just take a moment to call that out. You know, we love our salad bar, and I think it was sad to see it go for a couple of years. So it is nice to have it back. So it's really just building routines and focus on the task at hand. Our students are fantastic. They love to socialize anywhere they're at, whether it's at lunch or dismissal, trying to get them out of here, right? And it's like, where are these kids? Están platicando, ¿eh? So, estaba platicando un poquito de los desafíos que hemos tenido este año escolar. Hemos tenido 2. Ya está la señorita Nelly. I gave you your update already, by the way. So anyhow, en español, en los dos últimos años pasados, el Estado no nos requería que los estudiantes ponchen su número de identificación para recibir su lunch. Lo más marcaban los números. Por ejemplo, 500 lunches por día, eso es lo que reportábamos al Estado. Ahora ya regresamos al programa que se llama el National School Lunch Program, y obviamente cada año han llenado una aplicación de sus ingresos, cosas así, que nos ayuda a nuestra escuela a recibir adicionales fondos para renta, por ejemplo. Pero ahora hemos regresado a ese programa, so los niños tienen que ponchar su número de identificación y varios no saben su número. Y con tiempo han aprendido eso, y la señora maestra Bennett G hizo un template también para que los ayude también. So, estamos trabajando en esos desafíos, pero yo pienso que con tiempo se va a poner un poquito mejor. Obviamente es un nuevo procedimiento para los niños que a lo mejor se recordaban su número o nunca han tenido un número en su vida, ¿verdad? Eso es nuevo para ellos. Luego también en el pasado no teníamos la barra de la ensalada tampoco, que nos encanta aquí, no sé, nos hace diferente como una escuela pública, ¿verdad? Que tenemos comida hecha a mano y la barra de ensalada, pero obviamente también eso es otro procedimiento que los niños tienen que hacer en sus 25 minutos de lonche. Pero con poco paciencia y ayuda con los papás de tratar de recordar los números y el equipo tratando de tener a estos niños enfocados en la tarea en el momento, ¿verdad?, de comer, se va a poner un poquito mejor. So, quería platicar de esos temas. También algo nuevo que introducieron, se me olvidó, Grab and Go is back. That also wasn't here for many years. We've also been getting feedback. Ms. Nellie's been getting feedback. Our students are starving. And so they wanted to make sure that we got access to some kind of nutritious meal, right? And so they brought this Grab and Go breakfast back from 8 to 8:10. And I know there's a little flexibility from time to time, depends on what's going on. I'm saying since there's a little flexibility, someone needs a snack or something throughout the day. La otra cosa que también trajeron para atrás, esto es ayer, pienso, es el grab and go, la comida para llevar. So, si los niños llegan muy tarde a la escuela y ya cerraron el servicio de almuerzo, de desayuno, tienen la oportunidad de todavía recibir algo para llevar para comer en clase o un snack o algo así. Y también las comidas son gratuitas a todos. Y sé que hay unos papás que todavía piensan que la comida no es gratis para todos, no importa que sus ingresos. Just really quickly, I want to stress the fact that meals are free to all students, regardless of your income status. Brand new legislation here in California, Universal Meals Program.
Un recordatorio que aunque el desayuno sí ahora está disponible un poquito más tarde, por favor hagan su mejor intento de llegar a tiempo. Si realmente afecta cuando un niño está desayunando fuera del círculo de crew y toda la clase está junto haciendo comunidad y un chico está solito desayunando. Si es posible, por favor, lleguen a tiempo, pero sí nos queremos asegurar de que si un niño no puede por cualquier razón, que sí desayune algo, ¿no? Porque sin nutrición su cerebro no va a funcionar para todo ese día escolar. So we do want to remind you that while the Grab and Go breakfast is back and it is, you know, a slightly more extended time, that if at all possible, please do have your student here on time so that, because it is quite exclusionary if the whole class is in a crew circle and everyone's being included and one student is out of the circle eating breakfast. So while we do want to be sure that if there is an emergency and someone were to get here late, that student does have the nutrition necessary to fuel their brain for the school day, that it should not be a habit or something to be dependent on.
Puedo solo añadir que en mi experiencia de lo que he visto, la diferencia de cómo es una comida aquí a otras escuelas en las que he trabajado es enorme. No tiene nada que ver la nutrición. Es decir, que en eso hay una ventaja enorme en OCEAA. Eso lo primero. Y lo segundo, que la cantidad de tiempo que están tardando en hacer ese proceso es cada vez más rápida. Es una cuestión de que aprenden los números y cada vez van haciéndolo más rápido y no van a tardar mucho. En poco tiempo ya va a estar. Entonces no creo que sea un problema, la verdad, en muy poco tiempo. So I was just saying that the quality of the food here is not comparable to any place that I've worked in. And I can tell you I've worked in quite a few places. So this is great at OCEAA. It's a fantastic quality for the food. And also that the punching of the numbers is exponentially faster as they're moving forward. So I don't anticipate this being a problem in probably a week or less than that. Yeah.
Great point. Sí, thank you.
Muchas cosas buenas, obviamente relacionadas al almuerzo, ¿verdad? Es que kudos, o sea, sobre el desayuno para llevar y también la barra de ensaladas. ¿Pueden explicar un poquito del proceso con las personas que traen su almuerzo de casa? Ellos se pueden sentar automáticamente, porque eso es la única cosa que mi chica de 4º grado está teniendo, como dice que nomás tiene como 8 minutos para comer y no sé si ellos tienen que esperar en la misma línea o si se pueden sentar automáticamente. Si pueden explicar un poquito de los procesos. My question is, I said kudos to OCEAA for the salad bar and the grab and go. I just have a question regarding the folks who the students who bring their lunch from home. If you can please explain like the process. Do they have to wait in the same line or do they just get to sit down automatically? Okay, so for the process of the lunch service, let me just walk you through it. They're coming in depending on which grade level it is. If they bring their own food, they automatically go to their tables. They bring their own food. All they do is just go to the restroom, wash their hands. Wherever they're waiting at, whether it's the playground or their classroom, they're waiting to be dismissed at their lunch time. But if they bring their own food, they automatically just go to the tables, to the dining
O sea, que
tables.
básicamente para responder a la pregunta, si traen su propia comida, pueden directamente sentarse según entren en el garden. En resumen.
If your tiny human is grabbing garden girl food, what they're doing is they are waiting patiently in line. Our focus for the first 5 to 7 minutes is to rush the line. Let's go, let's go. What do we want for on the salad bar? Fruits or vegetables, fruits or vegetables. So right now the line has been a lot faster during lunch service, and I can guarantee you that they are having all students are sitting down during lunchtime for at least 5 minutes. So they're sitting down. One of our challenges is the talking. If they're talking, they're not munching. If they're munching, they're talking.
O sea, que está diciendo que, bueno, si traen comida, pero también quieren agarrar algo de la barra de ensaladas, entonces sí harían la fila para poder agarrar comida de ahí. En caso contrario, se pueden sentar y la idea es moverlo lo más rápido posible. Son 5 o 7 minutos y al menos hemos visto que tienen 5 minutos para sentarse y comer tranquilamente, pero dice que uno de los retos a veces es que hablan un poquito y entonces comer y hablar es un poco difícil a la vez.
And then just one last thing, those students that do bring their own food, they're good at bringing in, they're sitting down, they're eating their own food, and then they're like, can I go grab garden girl food? Yes, if we have time, let's go get more garden food.
O sea, que la otra opción es que empiecen comiendo su comida al entrar y se sienten, y si luego quieren agarrar algo más adelante, pueden pasar por la barra y agarrar algún tipo de fruta o verdura.
Yes.
Facebook is, you know how before the pandemic, the parents could come in and have lunch or breakfast with them? Is that something that's going to be coming back?
So
And
that's-
we can't say that.
Yeah, and Pedro, if you could take that one
So
off.
we are thinking about it. I don't think we have made a decision yet, because one of the things that we also talked about is, and that kind of relates to what I was saying before, we kind of want to make sure that the adults are in the building, we know who they are, and especially for things like, okay, especially if someone is going to be coming constantly, eventually, and this has been my experience, and we are still in talks to this, is that people that come into a building constantly, we usually fingerprint in almost every school district that I've been in to make sure that the person that is in is a person that, doesn't have a public record or things like that. If someone comes for a day, we are not going to be asking everyone to go through the process, but if you're planning on coming every day in the morning, then that is the conversation that we're having right now. We have not finalized this conversation, so we don't have a definite answer for you, but I'm leaning towards a process that will allow everyone to come in, but we'll have those safety measures in place to make sure that we know what the adults are, just as a precaution for everyone in the building. So la respuesta es que estamos todavía en el proceso, no lo hemos finalizado, pero sí que queremos asegurarnos que sepamos qué adultos hay en el edificio y que si alguien va a venir con más frecuencia, que no sea solo una vez, a lo mejor les vamos a tener que mirar las huellas dactilares para asegurarnos que no tengan algún tipo de sistema penal o hay algo que sería un problema a la hora de tener adultos dentro del sistema, ¿no? Especialmente cuando tenemos niños. Con niños yo siempre prefiero better safe than sorry, ¿ya?
So I pregunto, ayude a Oscar, ahora, So there's super quick follow-up. I think you already addressed the follow-up to what Laura said. My daughter said the same thing, like no time. Oh. So yes, just a follow-up. And so I understand the process. The other concern, and this happened a few times, apparently, both of my kids, they both bring food 80% of the time from home. But they say, oh, I wanted to get a fruit today. And they said, no, I can't because I brought my own food. So was that a one-off thing, or is that a normal thing, or what's up with that? Yeah, they wanted to go and get fruit after they ate their food, and they were told, no, you can't because you didn't get the rest of the food.
Because we're going back to the National School Lunch Program, the federal program that we're running now, there are requirements for the meal so that each meal is being counted for. Before we were doing this thing called offer versus serve. Last year during the pandemic, because of things that were happening, we were giving the child all 5 components. There are 5 meal components in the lunch service. Now with the offer, they don't have to take all 5. They just have to take at least 3. And out of those 3, it has to be a fruit or a vegetable. So if they're going through the line and they don't want a hot item, they can choose a vegetable, a fruit, and the milk. If they're not going to drink the milk, we have donation bins. So they're free to go through the lunch line, grab a fruit, grab a vegetable, because that's already 2 components, the milk, the third, and then punch in their numbers and they're solid. Make sense?
I guess the answer here is that it's kind of in between, yeah? So in order to provide part of the food and make sure that that is paid by the system, they at least have to follow the requirements of the state. I think that's what's going on. So maybe that needs to be clarified when the students are going through.
So they can't get.
They have to get, yeah, they have to get 3. And they're really good at grabbing both fruits and vegetables, whether it's cucumbers, tomatoes, broccoli, salad, and whatever fruit that they want. They're always welcome to go through the lunch line, grab 3 components and enter their numbers.
So otherwise the state is not recognizing it as.
And it's not reimbursable. So it's a reimbursable program. So for whatever tiny human goes through my lunch line, that's a reimbursable meal.
But they want just an apple, they can't.
If they want an apple, we do have snacks. So the kids that don't want their food, what happens with that fruit, we wash them, we rinse them. And if they want fruit, they can come and just ask, can I get a fruit? Yes, we're always from the donation bins.
Oh, hold on. Laura, Claudia, Patty, and then
Como en lo que dijo Flor, que los niñitos que traen por decir su lonche, los más chiquitos que no habían estado acostumbrados al sistema, que si como les podrían, no sé si ya les hicieron saber que ellos no tienen que esperar en línea que se vayan a juntar, por decir mi sobrina es de esas niñas que es como muy shy, como muy penosa. Entonces ella, si no le dicen que se vaya a sentar, ella no lo hace, porque siente que la van a regañar. Como ustedes les podrían especificar a los niños, pero que traigan su lonche, por favor, siéntense a comer.
La pregunta es que si se les puede decir a los niños que llegan y que tienen su lunch que se pueden sentar sin tener que esperar. The question is whether or not we can tell students that just arrive and have their own food that they can sit and they don't have to wait in the line.
Se necesitan la pregunta y la respuesta.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so can someone, that was already translated, right?
Yeah. I already
Okay.
translated the question. Yeah.
La pregunta fue si un chico trae su almuerzo de casa y quiere pedir algo de la barra de ensalada, si tiene la oportunidad de hacerlo. Sí, pero se tiene que coger de 3 diferentes categorías, que son fruta, verdura, leche y comida caliente, incluyendo la carne y el carbohidrato. ¿Sí? Entonces, para ser parte del programa que nos reembolsa por las comidas de los niños, si un chico quiere tomar comida de la barra de ensalada, tiene que coger de 3 diferentes categorías. Si ya comieron su plato fuerte de casa, tendrían que, para coger una fruta, coger 3 categorías, incluyendo la fruta, tal vez una verdura y la leche. Si no quisieran la leche, la pueden donar sin abrirla para que se done a otra persona que sí quiere la leche, pero no pueden coger solamente una fruta sin coger de las 3 categorías.
Okay, 20 personas online.
Sí, ya. Bien. Esa fue la parte que se nos olvidó.
Okay. And then so going back to your question, they're really good at dropping off. We have students that are designated to bring their lunch pails, and they drop off their lunch pails at their desk. I can remind them, if you bring your own lunch, you don't have to wait in line.
Claudia, I think is next. So, ¿en español?
La respuesta es que vamos a intentar recordarles que si vienen, pueden decir, se les puede decir y avisar, pero de todas maneras tienen un lugar donde pueden poner las comidas cuando llegan.
Claudia, Patty, Yvette, y acá. Flor.
Es que, perdón, luego no se oye por Zoom.
Pero
Ahí voy, no se preocupen.
Okay. Mi pregunta es para la señora Nelly. Quiero saber si todas las personas de su crew saben los primeros auxilios en caso de que un niño se esté ahogando o asfixiando.
So the question is whether or not everyone in the crew, for your crew, knows all the first aid and all the emergency procedures in case there is any issues during lunch.
And I can take this one on really quickly. So there's one thing that we need to do every single year, we have to do school-wide training on safety. So this is one of the components of it. And the other thing that we're looking at in partnership with our controller is looking at like the Red Cross and the YMCA, I think, are the 2 organizations that we're looking at to come on site to give us in-person training because it's a vital thing that we've been thinking about for many years. And so, yes, virtually, and then we're looking at getting it in person. So sí, Claudia, so cada año los empleados de la escuela todos tienen que hacer entrenamiento anualmente y uno de los temas es este tema. Y también estamos mirando a dos diferentes grupos que vengan en persona para que nos hagan un entrenamiento en este tema. Red Cross y el YMCA. Hold on. So Claudia, Patty, and then Yvette. Sure. The defibrillator thing?
De-choker.
Sí, ya los he visto.
Very inexpensive. You should have like 3 on hand.
Lo que pasa con ese, y yo lo pensé en su momento, es que se pone en la boca. We have to figure it out. Yeah.
Okay, so on Instagram, if in prior years we've had like in prior years we've had snacks, you know, for the kids to catch during recess. Is that coming back?
They have no.
Okay, so that's always available during recess. And then just a lot of feedback about the kids not having enough time to eat. Well, but I mean, hopefully like just you telling them during line, that'll help.
Just push it. It's on. Okay. So just to clarify, I just want to confirm, like, so it sounds like the children that bring their lunch from home will be able to sit, finish. In the event that they're still hungry because they're growing, they can go back and then get something from the salad bar and then a milk, right? Sí. Ok, entonces nomás para confirmar, los niños que traen lonche de casa, entonces pueden sentarse sin esperar en la línea y si todavía están con hambre, pueden pasar y pueden recoger 3 artículos de la barra de ensalada con su leche para poder, mínimo. Ok, gracias.
Thank you. My only other question was back to the lunch. I know that there's not enough time and I don't know what's the order of grade levels going. I continuously hear my son saying that his class is always the last one. And for some reason, sometimes they go alphabetically. So he's like second to last. So he ends up having less than 5 minutes to eat. So I don't know if there's a way to maybe randomize on the classes and maybe have them come at different orders. So maybe the last class is the first class next time. So that's at least there's a little bit more of a fair chance of them to eat. And honestly, 5 minutes is not enough to eat. Sometimes I take 1 bite and I chew in 5 minutes. So for them to be expected to eat a full meal and have good nutrition, 5 minutes, it's not long enough. So I don't know if there's any way that we can work on giving them a little bit of time. So mi único comentario es que mi niño se queja de que a veces 5 minutos no es suficiente para comer y si hay forma de que las clases puedan tener diferentes órdenes para venir al comedor, porque siempre vienen de último y si es en orden alfabético, mi niño es casi siempre el penúltimo y les da menos de 5 minutos para comer y no es suficiente para que ellos puedan tener una nutrición completa y poder comer los 5 elementos que tienen que comer para estar nutridos. Gracias.
So right now there's a set schedule for grade levels. So we have first grade that eats first, second grade that eats first, then we have middle school that comes right after second grade. And then we have third and fifth, which are our bigger classes. And then we have fourth grade that has our last lunch service. Between third and fifth and middle school, since there are multiple grades, what we're doing is that here in the Garden Grill to better the behavior here in the dining hall, there's the behavior that's happening during one day will determine who gets to come in first the following day. So right now what I'm doing between third and fifth is they're actually getting the hang of it. And so they're picking up after themselves, they're eating, they're spending their time because they already know that they have limited of time to eat. So with third and fifth, we're alternating. With sixth, seventh, and eighth, as well. We're alternating between sixth, seventh, and eighth. And so we're collaborating really well with the playground to see how behavior is happening in the playground to determine which grade level comes in first.
I can understand that it's a big change, but it's still not fair for some kids to not be able to eat if there's some kids in the classroom, not everybody that is not behaving well. So I think equally they should all get an opportunity to eat well, regardless of their behavior.
La respuesta a la pregunta era que vienen a diferentes niveles en diferentes momentos, no voy por toda la lista, pero empiezan y luego van a middle school, etcétera, y que lo que la señora Alonso estaba trabajando es que dependiendo de la conducta, los diferentes grados empiezan o terminan a diferente momento, dependiendo de cómo limpiaron, etcétera. La respuesta también ha sido por parte de la mamá que los estudiantes, independientemente de la conducta que muestren, deberían tener la posibilidad de comer con suficiente tiempo para poder tener la nutrición adecuada.
And I also want to add that they are getting additional time in class to eat. So we collaborated with third grade, especially fifth and third grade levels. If they're going in second or third to go to the lunch line, they are getting additional time in classes to eat their food.
So the only thing I would say, and I'll say this in English afterwards, is when I checked how the schedule works and how the building works, the space is pretty limited in terms of access in lunch. So it's very difficult to build a schedule that will have a space for everyone. I was actually surprised when I came in and I saw the space and I was like, oh my God, 600 kids eating here. How do you deal with that? And then when I saw the schedule, I understood. They start really early and they go all the way basically to the end of the day. So it's almost impossible to build more time without going extremely early, because some of the kids are basically finishing eating and we are cleaning up and they're already kind of ready to go. Yeah. So and that is something that if you feel like I can actually share with you how the schedule is really jam-packed in terms of schedules. That doesn't mean that, and I don't know if this is the case, if they go alphabetically, I've always actually switched. If they were A to C, let's do C to A the following day and kind of like switch it back and forth, something like that. So I'll check into that. I don't know if there is something like that, but if is there something like this going on? They have numbers. Okay, so maybe we can, good. So maybe we can actually look into something like that to kind of switch around, but we'll talk about it. Déjame que traduzca. Sí, un segundito que quería decir que una de las cosas que he visto que es diferente en este edificio es que para 600 niños y el espacio que hay es muy difícil organizar todos los lunches, todos los almuerzos y que quepa todo el mundo. Empiezan bien temprano y llegan prácticamente hasta la hora que están saliendo y está organizado de una manera muy cuidadosa para que todos puedan comer, ¿verdad? Pero en realidad hay ciertas limitaciones relacionadas con el espacio y la cantidad de estudiantes. Entonces, si alguna persona quiere ver un poquito cómo funciona el horario, se lo podemos demostrar. Y luego estábamos hablando de si realmente hay un sistema que tenga el mismo orden todos los días para ver si lo podemos modificar. Para eso hablaré con la señora Alonso.
Una pregunta más en este tema y luego nos movemos al que sigue.
Mi pregunta es de los grados 6, 7 y 8 que salen al mismo tiempo al lonche. Son tres grados y son muchos alumnos y es lo mismo de que se quejan que no comen, no les da tiempo de comer y lo que también decía ella, los niños empiezan a hablar, a estar jugando y no se apuran, entonces por eso es que no les dan tiempo. No sé si pudieran hacer algo para que no fueran los 3 grados.
And then just really quickly, if you remember last year, there was no salad bar, no punching in. So they actually had too much time where there was more behaviors happening last year because they would finish their food. And so now we have the opposite issue. But if you can just remember pre-pandemic, this wasn't really a topic of discussion that I remember. So I think we just need to give the team and the system some time to build those routines and adjust. And then if we continue to see issues, obviously we always welcome feedback. And so I know Ms. Nally is constantly trying to figure out ways to adapt and do better for our students and add new items to the menu per their request and things like that. Estaba comentando que, si se recuerdan el año anterior, los niños no tenían que punchar el número ni tenían las ensaladas, tenían bastante tiempo para comer y eso traía diferentes desafíos como comportamiento. Obviamente tenemos el reverso problema hoy, pero si se recuerdan antes de la pandemia, ese tema no salía de plática, nunca me recuerdo ese tema. So, hay que darle al equipo poquito tiempo para que se mueva un poquito más rápido y tengan sus rutinas bajo y si todavía hay desafíos hay que ver qué podemos hacer para ajustarlos.
And I think there's a couple of elements that will make the process faster. The first one is that the students are picking up things that they want to choose. Eventually they'll be faster on picking what they want. And the second one is the punching of the numbers. I've been with Ms. Nelly helping some students sometimes. And I mean, we've gone from to much faster. So eventually kids are just going to make it naturally. They're just going to punch the number, move forward. So hopefully the system will provide more time for more sitting time for students. So yeah.
Okay, the next topic is facility vandalism. We wanted to just bring this to the table. We're still having issues pretty much with the boys' bathroom. Right here in the garden grill, I think Enrique, I can hear him working in there replacing one of the sinks because one of the students broke the sink, the porcelain sink. And then upstairs by the elevator, one of the students punched down the partition wall, I think. So that's shut down and it's a big liability and safety too. So we wanted to bring this to the parents so that we can have this collaborative conversation, and I'll pass it to you in just a second, but I just wanted to kind of build you up.
Sí, sí, es que para mí esto es importante. Voy a decir un poquito primero, voy a traducir, pero que estamos teniendo algunos problemas por actos vandálicos en los baños. En uno de los casos partieron el lavamanos por la mitad, no sabemos ni cómo, pero está partido por la mitad y destrozaron con una patada una de las paredes que están arriba del baño. Entonces, lo que para mí esto es fundamental porque es el acceso a los baños. Estamos trabajando seriamente. Lo que voy a pedir a los papás en este momento, porque va a llegar un punto en que si estos sucesos continúan, han estado poniendo papel en los toilets y luego ya no es solo sacarlo, sino que a veces hay que reemplazar toda la tubería, toda la plomería. Es serio, ¿no? Entonces, para que esto no siga sucediendo, quizá llegue un momento en que vamos a tener que controlar el acceso, que puedan ir al baño, pero vamos a tener que ver quién entra y al salir que no haya habido daño. Les aviso porque estoy intentando evitar eso, pero quizá lleguemos al momento donde los estudiantes donde tengamos que registrar no quién estuvo en el baño, porque eso no nos interesa, sino quién entró y cuando salió tachamos el nombre. Miramos que no hubo daño. Todo esto lo comento porque si ustedes saben y sus hijos saben, de alguna manera les comentan que pueden y tener una idea de quién fue quien dañó los baños, sería mejor, porque entonces en vez de limitar el acceso a todo el mundo, lo que hacemos es que los llevamos a esos niños, we escort them. ¿Ya? Entonces, lo que vamos a hacer es tener una intervención específica para un número de niños mínimo y no necesariamente que todos los niños tengan que tener un proceso restringido de acceso, porque si no, el problema que vamos a tener es que no van a tener acceso, porque los baños se averían, se dañan y no se pueden usar. ¿Ya? So, let me translate this. Pero ves, básicamente la ayuda que estoy pidiendo es si pueden hablar con sus niños y descubren, nos ayudan con la investigación de quiénes están dañando los baños, porque estoy convencido que son 3, 4, 5 niños máximo. Si podemos descubrir quiénes son, sería más fácil. So what I'm saying in English right now is, based on these issues that we've been having, if you can have communication with your students in any way that will provide us some kind of insight about the people that could be damaging, which we believe is probably going to be 4 or 5 kids max, then we can escort those kids into the bathrooms and we avoid other, I don't know, systems that we'll have to put into place or protocols of limited access, because if we see that they are constantly damaged and then they cannot be used, what we'll have to do is make sure that we control who's coming in, checking in that nothing happened, and not necessarily keeping a log. We don't need to keep a log of the students that came into a bathroom, but at least to know that the person that came in didn't damage as they were coming out, okay? So we are working on that. It's not even, and I imagine that for Mike is going to be the economical aspect of it. For me, it's mostly the access issue, because then we don't have bathrooms, yeah? So, and then kids are like, where do I go? Yes, and then we end up sending them to other places because they were damaged, and in some cases damaged beyond repair. We had to replace the whole sink because we don't even know how someone can break a sink in half. We're trying to figure out the amount of strength that requires and how that happened. So if you can please just kind of gather information and send it my way, and I'll start kind of investigating, because I feel this is my thought process. If we start limiting access, not because we're punishing, but because we don't have a choice, there may be a kid that will say, you know what, I liked it the way it was before, when I didn't have to be checking in to come into a bathroom. And I think I have an idea of who was the person that was damaging the bathroom. Let me tell dad, let me tell mom, let me tell me. And then we can control the kids. Not necessarily that I'm looking for punishment, but at least I can define who has limited access. ¿Ya? Entonces, de esa manera, si sabemos quiénes pueden ser los niños que de alguna manera están cometiendo estos actos, limitamos la conducta a ciertos niños solos. Y pienso yo que cuando los niños vean que tienen un acceso más limitado a los baños, porque tenemos que controlar que esto no suceda, quizá le digan a sus papás o a sus mamás, me gustaba más antes cuando tenía un acceso no restringido, y les voy a decir quién creo que pueda ser la persona que está dañando los baños. ¿Ok?
Yeah, we're past the hour, so I have another series of slides that I'm going to hold for next month. They're super exciting stuff, in my opinion. It's another renovation project that I'll be working on, and so I'll share that next month. It's exciting one.
Yeah.
So a little cliffhanger there for next month. Any other questions? Estaba comentando que tengo otro tema que iba a presentar, pero lo voy a guardar para el mes que viene. Es otro proyecto de renovación que quiero hacer aquí en OCEAA para nuestros estudiantes. Y eso lo presento para el otro mes.
Y es un proyecto bonito. It's a good project. It's a good project.
Good. Anyone else? ¿Otra pregunta por ahí?
I just want to say thank you for posting the monthly lunches. You know, I got September yesterday, and that's awesome because then I could figure out with my kids, are we making lunch at home or are you eating at school? And that will save time.
Yeah, in some communications with parents, what I've seen is that they say, depending on the food of the day, I send them lunch or not, which is very practical. So, la pregunta era que está muy bien que esté el horario de toda la semana, de todo el mes, perdón, de lo que van a comer para decidir si les llevo o no les llevo el lunch o cómo lo organizo con los niños.
¿Qué piensan de Parent Square? Down? You don't like it?
I'd like to be able to see what people respond.
Más o menos, okay.
Y entonces llegan mensajes de, o sea, llegan mensajes de otras escuelas pues, de mis hijos, y es un poquito complicado estar al pendiente de todo lo que los maestros dicen, porque no nada más es el mensaje del maestro, sino el mensaje de la escuela en sí, en general, y es un poquito confuso.
Okay, so mucha información. So I think we might need to do a training on that. From the administration side, it's a game changer for us because it gives us more access to communicate with you. For example, the heat alert, it was so awesome for me to go in there and actually have the power to go in and make my own message and send it out right away. And before we had to go through another person, right?
Yeah, also the menus had always been sent over Class Dojo, but I think just got buried. Yeah, and so Parent Square has given you access and it was useful for you. So it you know has been a big improvement for us. Ha sido una actualización muy importante para nosotros de la administración porque podemos compartir información más rápidamente de una manera que más gente la ve. Entonces en Class Dojo ya estábamos compartiendo, por ejemplo, el menú del mes, pero como había demasiada información, no siempre lo veían. Entonces, si le llegue ese menú a una madre que lo aprecie y que lo quiera ver, realmente nos ayuda a nosotros comunicar.
And I think part of the goal that we've had is actually providing information because it's difficult to find that balance about how much information you provide, how much information is needed. But I think we've been very cautious about oversending. At least in my case, I can tell you that I'm not sending information that I think is not needed, especially if it's for everyone. And I think Mr. Limón has kind of been doing the same. Hemos tenido cuidado de cuando mandamos información que no haya demasiado ruido, no enviar demasiada porque al final se pierde uno, sino pensar en cuando enviamos información que sea útil y necesaria.
I do like it. It's a lot better than the other one as far as like spam and all the junk stuff that came with the other one. My only feedback is I really liked how we were able to somewhat interact with each other as parents. Right now, it's like you guys are broadcasting, but there's no loop back for us. And I think that should be important because that's what fosters our community. If I'm able to make a comment or ask a question and other parents see that and vice versa.
It should be that feature. No, I feel like comments.
You reply only to the person. Yeah.
Oh, that works. Okay.
I've seen that.
Okay. We'll take a look at that.
Yeah. And I've actually thought about that sometimes, that my answer is something that I want to go to everyone, but it's going to the person that actually posted yeah, I've thought about that. So maybe we need to,
we're still learning the tool ourselves. It's got like a laundry list of features behind the scenes that we don't know yet. Like for example, the alerts, something we just learned the other day. I'm like, I'm just not using them. So I think as time comes, maybe there'll be a setting or something. Laura?
Un par de cosas. La idea de que a través de Parent Square ahora, cuando alguien postea algo, no se puede responder a todo el mundo, sino solo a la persona que puso el post. Y luego la idea de que a lo mejor en un coffee chat que tengamos en el futuro hablemos de cómo se puede utilizar Parent Square de una manera más productiva.
You might have to go in there later on social, but one of the things is, can you share like what food items are approved and like not approved? Like are cookies good to bring or not good?
Our wellness handbook should have in there, no, Ms. Nelly?
So approved items that can be brought for food and the ones that are not.
If you're having like a monthly birthday party, whatever it is.
And then some kids are being told that what they bring is unhealthy.
Sí, o sea que le pueden decir que no es, okay, saludable.
Maybe that could be our next initiative internally. Just kind of working through that.
Yeah, we'll work through that.
That's a never-
Gracias.
This topic is a never-ending battle, as we all know. Every year. Okay. All right. Pues gracias a todos. Thanks, everybody. Have a great Thursday. See you tomorrow.
Gracias. Thanks.
Por el frente, por favor. Everybody signed in, right? Por la puerta de frente todos, por favor.
Perdón.
Gracias.
Yo no sé cómo podría pasarte lo de las manchas. No.
Tengo una pregunta para